Hello.
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 Howdy.
Howdy.
What is the goings of on?
Oh, not a lot here. How about with you?
Yes. Yeah, kind of the same. Not really. Everything and nothing. So it's always a good time.
It's true.
I made some French press coffee for the first time in a long time, and oh my gosh, it's so good.
Oh, look at that. Here we go. I need my coffee. I need my coffee in higher volumes than can be provided by a French press.
Yeah, we had some people over on Friday, and I was like, oh, we should make coffee, and then I was like, I typically don't drink coffee at home. It just doesn't come up, shockingly.
Is that why you drink 75,000 cups when you're at Dad's house?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's probably
okay. Just checking.
And when I'm at work, it's just, so I was like, oh, people are over, I should make coffee. And I was like, oh, I just have a French press. So I was basically just making coffee the whole time.
Oh. Like, how can I make coffee the least inefficient way? Oh, I know. The French could be worse. Could have like one of those drip things, right?
See, yeah, I could have had a pour over. Yeah, that would have been even worse. Be like,
or
let me hand
the vacuum drip thing, you know?
Oh,
like,
yes. Yeah.
That's super efficient.
Yeah. Like, let me just turn into a barista here and make each one of you your own bespoke coffee drinks while you're here in my house.
Oh dear. They each have their own special characteristic and flavor.
Yeah.
Because I can't do it the same every time.
Yeah, mostly because I'm not that reliable. Anyway. Yeah, so that's it. We've survived into the holiday season. Don't have many dogs in the house.
Oh,
it's crazy.
That's very abnormal.
I know, it is, especially since during the holiday season we basically had like 4 to 5 dogs in our house every night for 2 months.
There's many dogs.
And now we have nothing. So
Kobe's probably like, yes.
Oh, he's very happy. You could tell that he was very excited about not having to share anything with anybody.
Aw, good job, Kobe.
That's what you get. You are an old dachshund, and you are frustrated with the world.
Ew. Starved for attention, boy.
Oh yeah, so starved for sure.
Nobody ever loves on him, pets him, ever.
It's a real shame.
Yeah, I know.
Real.
Oh wait.
Oh, that's all lies. So, yeah.
What are you up to, Aaron? Traveling far afield today?
Oh, I went down to Oklahoma City. I went and saw my lady friend, and then I went and saw my other friends that live down there. They just had a baby, and so well, I mean it's not like brand spanking new, but it's
but
about
still.
3 months old, and so I went down there to see them, and they also have 2 dachshunds. So I mean, I was mostly there to see the baby, but the real reason was to see the dachshunds.
Yeah. Fair.
And so
Kobe,
I saw them.
Kobe confirms this is a good reason.
This is a good reason. Yep.
And they took me out for birthday lunch, and then went back
to where?
Hung out with
complete the story.
No, I'm trying to remember where we went. Oh, we went to Red Robin's. Red Robin.
Red Robin. Yum.
They don't sponsor us. Shush.
Yeah.
If you mention it, maybe they will.
And then,
how was the food? Describe the food. Was it the best food you ever had?
So went ahead on there, and then I went back, and then I drove. I literally got home like 30 minutes ago.
Nice.
It was actually an easier drive because Dad actually got me a Pike Pass for Christmas last birthday, and so I didn't have to take 4 hours to go, 2 hours. But it was nice. It was actually nice. I got to use it. I was scared.
You're like afraid they're gonna come get you.
Yeah, because I was like, Well, it was weird because there was just like a break in traffic going down there, and so it was like just me. And thankfully there was, and I can't remember where it's at, but it's on 44 or 35. I can't remember, but it's the main one that goes to Oklahoma City.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's like a break in traffic, and so like 2 miles ahead of me there was cars, and then 2 miles behind me there was cars, but in between there's just little old me. Oh, no. And sure enough, there was a
you were that cyclist that couldn't get back on the main group. There was get away from the bunch.
There was a state trooper sitting his happy self right behind the little turnpike area, and then like I saw the thing coming up, and usually I merge into the right lane, pay the very cranky people my quarters. I'm like, well, sorry, I don't have change, and they're like,
To be fair, if I had to work that job, I would be the crankiest person ever.
Right,
100%.
It's okay. Yeah.
And so, but I was like, well, I'm just gonna stay in this lane, and like I'm not gonna move. But there was just that fear of, what if you did move? And then it's like, oh wait, what if it doesn't register? Oh wait, what if the thing says you need to turn around and pay? What if the little buzzers go off, and then the cop's gonna be like, oh, I'm gonna pull over that little car, and then just everything just happened all at once. And then there's a little box right when you get past the turnpike, and it flashed white.
Yeah, up on the
thank you, and I'm like, just relief just poured over me. But then I had the same feeling coming back on the same road at the same turnpike. I was like, no, I know this just worked like a few days ago, but what if? And then I had the same fear.
I've had that problem before where you throw your, like, not the ones where there's like it's just a light, there's not like, because they don't have the gates on them on the highway. Yeah. Right. But I've done that before where you throw the money in and then it doesn't like register that you did it.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're just like, well,
fiddle.
Here we go. You have that moment of like, well, no, I was just like, I'm going. I paid. I mean, I'm going to pay again. So I just drove off. But there was always that trepidation of like, they're going to find me. Oh no.
I will say,
they're going to get that 35 cents out of me somehow.
Sure. Out of your hide. I will say that DFW totally has this solved in that there are no passes, there are no tags, there are no stopping to throw coins in.
Right.
They take a picture of your license plate and they bill you. And it is amazing. It is so wonderful. Yes, that's all it is. And from no matter where you are, out of state plates, all sorts of, whoever is registered to the plate gets a bill. And I love that. That was amazing.
Well, there is another option. You could tax your gasoline sufficiently so you don't have to pay on the turnpikes to drive on the stinking road. That would be the ideal option.
No.
Other states. Yeah.
No.
Come on. Get with the program here. What are you doing?
No.
Well,
keep
Oklahoma...
taxes that way if you don't use the turnpike, you don't pay for it. Ta-da.
Also, if you don't drive, you don't pay for gas.
Well, but you may drive, but just never use the turnpike.
You don't drive. Also, the state tax in Missouri on gas is not that high, so like it'd be fine. We're talking like cents. So stop it. No, we're not.
$2.
Stop it.
I mean, Oklahoma technically was done with this program like 2-3 years ago. In theory, however, we are still having to pay turnpikes because I think someone pointed out, I was like, oh, it would have been just too hard to just take everything down. So we're just going to keep them up. And people are like,
yes.
Okay.
Let me give you this blisteringly high Missouri fuel tax rate. Are you ready? Are you ready?
Yes.
Go for
17 cents.
See?
There you go. Oh my gosh, it's so high. Oh so no, what will I ever do having to pay 17 extra again? Stop it.
I'm just saying.
They just rebuilt the bridge here, and guess what? I didn't have to pay every time I drove by it.
Just pay to look at is actually what that is.
What was I going to say? There's the constant jokes with Oklahoma State with why is Oklahoma State the color orange? Otherwise, their school color is orange because of all the construction. And
I like
all
it.
of the all of the road construction that happens on all of the major roads in Oklahoma have been going on for years.
Yeah, but it's so.
But it's the same part too. It's never.
I know that's the weird bit. It's always the same stretch of highway, and they neglect all the other highways. So like when you cross the border from Missouri to Oklahoma, there's like an enormous bump. Like literally, that's where the different state departments work on the road. It's like kaboom.
Yeah.
I'm in Oklahoma now. I could tell.
Yep. I remember I drove home to for one of the holidays one time, and this one I still had the Bronco, and Dad got mad at me because he thought I was like off-roading. I was like, no, Father, those are the roads in Miami, Oklahoma. It's like the suspension is shot.
Those potholes are so big. I remember like you just like fall in them.
Yeah.
That pothole's a foot deep. What is happening? No wonder everybody in Oklahoma drives trucks. You have to. You can't.
1 week when I was heading down to Oklahoma City, I hit it. It felt like I hit like a lake is what it felt like I hit like, and it knocked the rear passenger window off its tracks.
You said that. That's crazy.
And so, granted, I still have not gotten fixed, but every time I hit a significant bump, it just goes and it just falls. And I remember I got down there and I called Dad and I was like, well, the roads just broke my car again. He's like, what do you mean? It's like, I hit something and I think I hit another state in my car and it just went clunk. I was like, it's not my fault. I promise I'm a good driver. It's literally the roads. They destroy everything. I can't have anything nice because of Oklahoma.
Shakes it apart. Like, just constantly just rattling it around.
I'm in fear. That's one reason why I don't drive much, is because it's just a constant fear of like, well, I might not have a car when I get back because everything will be just shaking
itself apart. Yeah,
like, shake, rattle, and roll.
Stuff just fall off. Just
yep,
door's gonna come off. Like,
that's what I battle with on a consistent basis. And then for work, they give me a state van, and we all know state vans are known for their suspension, and also turns out they're not four-wheel drive.
No,
yeah,
that makes sense.
They give me.
I don't ever look at a van and go, "Oh yeah, four-wheel drive." Like, that thought's never crossed my mind. I just always assumed they were all two-wheel drive.
I mean, every time I look at a van, I go, "Please be four-wheel drive."
But we already know that you have a weird van thing, so it's fine.
Hey now. Yeah. Yes. Anyway.
So yeah, I have to go back to work tomorrow. So.
Oh yeah, do you actually have work, or is it like a what is it? Like a work day, like not school day. But...
no. This time, weirdly, I guess just because of the way that it worked out, we don't have one of those. We're just going back on Monday. Boom, back.
Oh,
just mildly surprising, because usually the first day back is often like one of those PD days where you come in and you do stuff and you have your meetings about things. But they're not doing that this time. It's just straight back, boom, to Monday.
That's interesting.
Yeah,
to Monday.
What do you think? How is that? What are your thoughts on that? I'm interested. You think that's good, better, or?
I mean, I find it interesting that. So it almost feels like whenever they do that, it's like they expect you. There's almost like an expectation of coming in and working on vacation.
Oh,
right.
Yeah.
It's like, oh yeah, you should just be ready to go. I mean, I am, but like,
sure,
I didn't go back in there because it's vacation and it's time off work, and so. But I feel like whether this is true or not, the perception is sometimes that like they just expect you to do it.
Yeah. Why wouldn't you?
To be ready to come back and start. So there's like an expectation of like, even though it's vacation, you should just be coming in and doing all your stuff.
and giving us your time for free.
Yeah, like no offense, but I work in education in Missouri, so you don't pay me enough to come in. Not trying to be like salty about it or anything, but like, no, it's not like to put this into perspective. When I used to work in a factory, a local factory here, walking in off the street, you make the same as a lot of places do starting teacher salary, which is a job that requires a 4-year degree.
Yeah.
But I could walk into this window factory and you get paid the same amount
to paint windows.
Yeah. Paint. Well, to paint you get a little bit more. That's like just to unload.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Excuse me.
Yeah. When you put it into that kind of perspective, it's like, oh,
not even the skilled job. Because when you get to be painter, when I was a painter, that's a higher salary schedule, right? That's a higher wage bracket because it's a skilled position.
Yeah.
Like when I first worked there, I unloaded and loaded big, heavy aluminum pieces. Not exactly a skilled position, but still the pay is very, very good. And I often compare it to that. I'm like, well, even though that job was very not exciting because it was just a lot of really hard work for 12-hour days, not super fun. But like the pay was the exact same almost. It's very depressing. It's very depressing to be like, oh yeah, I went back to school to make the same amount of money.
Oh yeah.
Well, I was talking to
like hazardous chemicals in my current job.
Sure. Hey, except for the toxic relationships of students, but
there's no chromium though, so that's good.
Oh, there's no chromium.
Bonus.
I was talking to my girlfriend about like teacher paid in Oklahoma because that's so much. And I was not like when I started teaching, I was like, oh man, I'm doing like, oh this is awesome. I'm doing work. I'm like, oh this is okay for Oklahoma. And then I talked to some other people in bigger cities, and they're making like significantly more than I am.
Oh well, yeah.
I was in a rural school district, but still, I was like,
your district location makes a big difference. Because the bigger districts around me, you can make way more starting off, right? As much as, we're talking lots more per year just going there, right? Yeah. So that's the kind of the weird balance, because since every school district is responsible for paying the teachers, some districts, the bigger ones, can afford to pay them more, and the smaller ones can't. So
not so much.
Because I thought I was doing like moderately decent.
And you probably were for a small school. So like
no, apparently I was on the low end apparently.
Well, yeah.
And I was sitting there talking to her and I was like, wait, you make how much? Now granted, she does teach at a very large, well not large, but a very like a good school like down in Oklahoma City. And I was like, so you make
bigger.
You do good. You do better than I do.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And so it just befuddled me.
Yeah, but it is distressing because like the school district directly south of me, you make like way more just starting out. Wow. But then you have to go there and deal with their stuff. So that's another thing. But like so there's pros and cons, right? Like I like where I work. I feel very like the administration is very like helpful to me. And so like at other school districts, you don't always get that. So it's like, okay, well, this is good. Like, like they tell me things like, yes, that's a great idea. So I'm in, right? Like,
well, yeah, I think that the quality of life aspect is often overlooked. Could you go and make more money other places? Yes, absolutely. But that typically comes with bigger headaches, more problems. And if you have a spot where you enjoy and you're able to actually do your job for what they hired you to do, it's often worth it to stay there for that.
I still don't want to go on over break, but like,
absolutely. Yeah, there you go. Like,
and that was kind of my situation where I was at. Like, it was a good school. Like, it was smaller than Rogersville, but it still had that kind of same atmospheric vibe, and so I was able to kind of work and thrive in that kind of ecosystem, if you will. And I mean, I enjoyed the school, I enjoyed the people, but yeah, my administration just wasn't supportive, and so I couldn't really thrive as a teacher. And so I was finally like, I mean, yeah, I would like to still teach, but it's not really worth it to have that kind of consistent headache over and over again. And so I kind of had to make the move out. Unfortunately,
every place is different, so it's hard to know, right, until you exist in that environment, right? Just like any job, like it always, like on paper, you understand what happens, but then when you exist there for a while, you kind of go, oh, right, the factory job was the same way. Like on paper, it sounds fine, but once you're there every day for forever, you're like, oh yeah, this isn't really for me anymore. I kind of don't want to do this anymore.
maybe not so much.
I need to get out while I can, right? Because you kind of got to make that really hard decision of like, oh well, I got to bounce on this. Otherwise, I got to do it now. Otherwise, like, I might not have options later. So luckily, I was very young still, so like, I was like, well, I'm out, because I worked there when I was like 21, 22, right? So I was, I was still able to be like, yep, nope, bye, I'm out again. So,
yeah, so that's interesting, because if people are listening to this probably caught on, like, you both, worked or are working in education, and how did you guys find your way into that? Like, what was that thread that led you to where you are now?
I always joke that
it's a big question.
I always joke that it's by accident, right? Yeah. Like, that's what I tell people. They always look at me like I'm insane, but I tease them and say, oh, it was on accident, right? Because I was working there at this factory, painting my windows, right? And it's a good job. It's kind of rewarding, because you get to, every once in a while, you get to see like pictures of the buildings that you finished, like when they're built, and you go, oh, that's cool. Like the big St. Jude's Children's Hospital thing, right? Mm-hmm. And is that Memphis? Where that is? I don't remember. I think so.
Yes.
Right. It's got that big red front on it, that big red walkway and everything. I painted that. Like, I worked that job. I painted all that red. Wow. That color is terrible to paint, right? Just so you know, it's very thin. It's very hard. But we did that job, right? So it's kind of cool. You're like, oh yeah, I did that, right?
Yeah,
that's kind of neat. But like I said, I didn't really like working many hours. And 12-hour shifts got kind of boring. So I was like, well, I need to do something new. So it's when I started dating Susan, right? And she was like, hey, there's this program at school, this AmeriCorp thing, and they like work with kids and stuff. And I was like, okay, let's try that. So I did. For some reason, they hired me. I still am not entirely sure why they did that, but they did. And I started working there, and I just really enjoyed that like environment of working there and interacting with kids. And then I had to do a bunch of like, you have to have X number of hours to meet your contract requirement, right? Okay. And it's more hours than are in a school day. You know what I mean? So like,
really?
So for every year, well, they don't do it full time anymore, because I think they were struggling with having people do this. But like, I did it full time, so you could do 2 years of service in the AmeriCorp program. So what that is like a volunteer service that is in certain school districts. Not every school district has this. It's kind of a rare thing. But there's lots of them around Missouri, right? We used to go to conventions, and there would be like all the Missouri AmeriCorp people there, and there was like thousands of people. It's kind of cool, right? But excuse me. What it is they work in the school, and they pay you through like a stipend plus like educational grant money, basically. That's your pay. So like I got like X amount of dollars that had to be used to further education. And that's what, when I went back to school to do my education degree, I just used that. I was like, oh, okay, sweet.
Yeah, and it's nice.
Quite a significant amount of money, right? And then the school chips in some for your stuff and everything. But you have to get, I don't remember now, so many hours per year, right, doing it. And it's a lot. And so I had to volunteer too. And so I got the bright idea. I'm going to volunteer at the YMCA. I can coach soccer. No problem.
How did that go?
So I coached fifth grade soccer for a year and a half. It was actually kind of awesome, right? I enjoyed it. That's that interaction with kids is like the other thing that really got me into education, though, is being able to interact with the kids at school in like the school environment, right? And then these other completely strange kids that I didn't even know, like just being able to like instantly make that connection and be like, all right, we're in, and be able to do that was like, whoa. And I mean, not to toot my horn, but I like had this moment of like, well, I'm actually kind of good at this, right? Like, this is not like and so like that part, and then like some of the connections I made with those kids was pretty powerful for a number of reasons, and stuff like that. So it was kind of crazy, right? Like there was just lots of situations like that, and so it's nuts because like that was so long ago now that like some of the kids that I met at school, right? They're either like they've graduated already, and like I have their little siblings in my class in 6th grade, which is kind of hilarious.
Whoa. That's awesome.
That's trippy.
But yeah, that's interesting. But that was kind of it, right? Like I was like, oh, like one of the kids I coached in soccer, he was my neighbor over here. He's like moved in a couple months ago for a while, and his family did. And I was like, what are you doing here? What the heck? Like, see him around town. Like, hey, yo, what's up? You know, he's like 20 something now. Has a job over here, whatever. So, like,
so you kind of felt like it was one of those like it just clicked, and you started getting invested in it, kind of thing. Like, oh, yeah, I can. But
I wouldn't have done that if I wouldn't have been like exposed to it, right? Because like when you think about it, you're like, oh, I don't know. Spoilerinos, and my AmeriCorp person will tell you this: not the greatest paperwork person on the face of the planet. There's some aspects of being a teacher that are very hard for me, just because of the way that my brain processes information. Right, I'm a very like right this instant type of person. Right. Which is very good and very bad simultaneously, because it is like, oh, I'm really super in the moment and invested in what's happening right now. That also means that I'm not always planning super far ahead, because I'm like so into what we're doing right now. A lot of my planning comes naturally from whatever it is we just did. Right. I'm looking for that next thing to bring in. And I also don't always like do a lot of reflection on what I've already done, because I'm still right now in the present. Right. So I'm not looking behind me either. So things like grading, I'm like, blah. But, you know, not my favorite thing in the world. You know, you do it, obviously, because it's just a thing you have to do. But, like, it's not like I'm not just looking forward to that ever. So I don't think anybody really is. But
no, of course not.
But yeah, I think it's one of those things where I never really thought about it until I got myself placed in that environment. And then I was like, oh, hey, this is kind of cool. I kind of like this, right? And then so I transitioned from that to, I worked as a paraprofessional for many years, which is like basically an aide in the special education department. So I worked with kids basically from K-12 over my stint in that. And so then I got to make a lot of friends in classrooms, like with other teachers, which was super helpful, right? Because they just sort of like talk to you about teaching things, right? So it's kind of like free education, right? They're just like sharing this stuff with you, right?
Yeah.
If you talk to them and you're like, oh, what about this? And they'll just tell you these things. And so that interaction was really kind of what made me go, oh yeah, no, this is good.
You could do it.
Just that interaction with other people and that kind of like talking to the peers and stuff. And then, yeah, that really kind of helped me go, oh yeah, hey, I might be able to do this. Let's give it a shot, right?
Yeah. So yeah, you had some encouragement and some deeper insight into it than just, hey, they're hiring teachers, I'll just show up a little bit. You had gradually more and more exposure to like kind of the whole system.
Yeah, kind of. It was one of those like, well, I started as like, you started kind of in a lower position and sort of work your way up, which is weird. It's not a normal thing that happens in education. It's very strange, but like, I think that just that constant exposure is what made me go, oh yeah. Because if I never would have been in the school environment, I don't think I would have gone, oh yeah, teacher. Yeah, that's going to be just because it was not something that that had on my radar really. I knew I didn't want to work in the factory anymore, but I wasn't really sure what else was going to happen. Yeah. So I think just being in that environment kind of helped me realize, oh, right, just all the people that work there and being around all the kids and just, like being able, like seeing that I could like be important to them and like help them do things kind of made me be like, oh, okay, this could work. I have some skill here. I need to like hone it down. Not really good at first, right? Oh. But like, I was kind of like, okay, this is, we'll try this. We'll see how this works. And just that kind of gradual climb up into there is kind of how it works. It's a very long and slow process. So not the normal route that one takes to become
an educator. But how long have you been doing that at this point? How long have you been teaching there?
So this is a hard question because this is my third year as a full-time classroom teacher, but this is my 10th year being employed by the school district.
I see. Okay, yeah. Right. Well, that's because of what you were. How you started before. Right?
Yeah, when I worked as a reading coach for 2 years, you're technically employed by the school district for that.
Yeah.
And then I was a para for a whole bunch of years, right? Up until 3 years ago. Like, they were still letting me like I was still being a para while I was going to school, right? So that was really helpful.
Really?
Yeah. So, like, I did all that. And so, yeah. It's really hard. I really don't know how to answer that question because they asked me, like, how long have you been in school? Like, well, what do you mean by that?
Definition of
a long time. That's like,
yeah.
All right. Very, very circuitous route to becoming. But whatever works. It's fine.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, especially because
no one's ever called me conventional, so it's fine.
This is a word that does not go along the same line as Brandon. This is true.
No, it's fair. So yeah, that was kind of it. Just sort of that slow, gradual, like realization of, oh, yeah, okay, I get it. Like being just around the kids, seeing that I was able to like do things, help them, like make tangible differences in how they went about their day. I was like, oh, wow,
yeah,
that's pretty insane. I should probably look into doing this more.
Yeah, that's cool. Airman, how about you? I feel like you had talked about being in education more openly or for longer periods of time, but what was that trip for you?
Kind of the complete opposite, in like a not so.
And now for something completely
different. Most people are. It's fair.
So, like, for those of you listening, like, Brandon did like a really cool way, and yeah, it's unconventional. I didn't really know, like,
a long time though.
I wanted to get into teaching, because I don't. If you don't know, like, I don't really like people, and so just dealing with smaller humans is kind of a compromise. So I'm like, well, I got to be sociable, but I don't really like people, so I'll just talk to the smaller versions of them, and.
The smaller ones are way less judgy and way more fun. So this is a fair statement.
I got into teaching, and well, I mean, it kind of took me to kind of take a break from school in general, and that's when I substituted in Stillwater for about a year, and I was like, oh, this is actually thoroughly enjoyable. Like, this is what I want to do. And my problem is that I didn't have like a clear path to that kind of end goal, because I had like 3 different advisors, and all 3 of them were fired at Oklahoma State. No, excuse me. And so, like, I would just show up, and it'd be like a different person. I'd be like, "What am I supposed to do?" And then I would just take a bunch of random classes. And so I was never directed to, like, I never was told, like, you need to take this. And so I was like, kind of had the impression of like, oh, well, if I do this, I'll be golden. And it wasn't until I like completely switched out of the College of Education to my advisor that I ended up graduating with. He was like, what are you doing taking these classes? And I was like, I don't know. Like, I was told to, and they said to do this, and now I'm doing it. And they're like, yeah, you didn't need to take like all these classes. So I wasted a good almost 2 years of my life, 4 semesters, of just taking random classes that I didn't need to take. And so that's when I just switched to literally pure history. And I was like, you know what, I'll just get out and I'll just teach that way. It's fine. I'll get alternatively certified and just call it good. Like, I'll be done. But then when I graduated, they had all these other things that they added to like me graduating. Just to being a teacher. And so, and I had some of those already taken care of for when I was in the College of Education. And I was like, all right, this is what I want to do. This is perfect. Like, I'll just do this and just only focus on teaching. And then I caught the coaching bug. And like, I didn't really plan on coaching. Like, I was like, I'll whatever. But, getting involved with the school and people being like, hey, we could really use your help. And that kind of really opened an alley of coaching to where a lot of people kind of get involved into education, to where like, hey, I like coaching, I like teaching, I'll just combine together and work for a school. And so I really enjoyed coaching, and my students really enjoyed that I was a coach and all of that stuff. But I was a good teacher. I wasn't those people that are like, just draw on the board and we'll talk about football plays. They're the football plays. If anyone out there has ever had a teacher like that, I was the complete opposite, where I actually enjoyed teaching and things like and things like that. But it was kind of a struggle for me, really, because I was so ingrained in doing higher education, and then they gave me 5th grade. I'm like, oh, I don't know what to do with you. And the past like 3 years of my last 3 years of college, I was essentially in like nothing but history classes. And, history professors are all super old, and they don't believe in, computers or D2L or technology. And so I was like nothing but papers, like physical papers. And so it was weird to adjust, but it was a neat challenge. And the kids liked it a little bit because it was something that they've never really dealt before. And they mostly really liked it because I really treated them like they were, kids. I didn't really treat them like they were just, you're going to learn this. I really went after their abilities and what they enjoyed. And the kids were really susceptible to that. And they're like, well, you've actually treated us like we're human beings. Wow, this is really nice. And so I came at it more of a human aspect. But, like, hey, if you're willing to learn, let's go through this adventure together. And I was very fortunate to only have 55 5th graders in my experiment of becoming a teacher. Because if I worked at a big school and I had like, 30 kids to a class and, several different class sizes, I think it would have been a struggle. But I was very fortunate to have really smart, really engaging, not that many kids to be able to kind of work around. I was like, hey, we're going to try this. Oh, wait, that wasn't a really good idea. Like, oh, they enjoyed this better. And then when I was given the option to leave, when I kind of had that mental crossroads of, well, should I stay here and be miserable with administration that's not really supportive. And that was my big thing. I didn't have like I had a lot of parents behind me that are like, you're really great for our school. We like you. You're super awesome. It's like, oh, guys, come on. I mean, it's my first year. I mean, come on, guys. But if I didn't have an administration that was supporting me, that was kind of the crushing part. I was like, man, I worked so hard. I took a year off from college just to get my balance, and like they weren't gonna, at least attempt to work with me. I was like, this is not where I need to be. It was extremely hard to leave that, because at a football game, like very, very first of the year, when I was still trying to figure out whose kids belong to who parent, which that's actually a very challenging thing to be like,
I saw that problem.
Who do you belong to? Like, which one are you? To where, like, a parent came up to me during a football game, and he's like, I don't know what you're doing, but I like it. And I was like, who are you, a football player parent, or are you one of my kids' parents? And he's like, and he pointed to his child, and he's like, my daughter came home for the first time in her 5 years of going to school and said, Dad, guess what I learned in school today? And he was like, she has never done that before until you got here. And I'm like, don't cry. Don't cry. Oh, thank you, sir. That's really, really enjoyable to hear. But he's like, and also having other parents come up to me and be like, I don't know what you're doing, but our kids are actually like wanting to be more engaged in school. So please stay here. And so having to actually leave that to actually have like parental support and the kids support, that was difficult. And it took me leaving, teaching, and whoever's listening, I work for the State Department of, I almost said conservation. I was too focused on what Collin's doing. I work for the Department of Human Services, Child Welfare. I'm an investigator, and I do all the weird, crazy stuff. And it took me leaving teaching and being put into, a more tougher job, and being like, man, teaching was actually really easy. Now, granted, I struggled with science. Like that was kind of tough for me, but like history came like super easy to me, and like watching the kids' faces react to history, like that was cool. Like I really felt like I didn't have to work. But yeah, I was, Brandon, kind of the same thing you had, like with paperwork. I was like, we would do a test and I would totally forget to grade it, and I'd be like, everyone passed. Yeah, you did good.
I don't do that, but like, I think
no, I don't. It wasn't like that. Gosh. It wasn't that bad, but I'd be like, oh, I needed to grade all these papers. You guys watch Bill Nye for a second. Let me just finish grading all of these. And I was like,
I just do it after school.
I didn't have that kind of time because I had to go like to like football or baseball practice. But yeah, it was something that I worked so hard to be in, and the consistent like, wait, what do I do now? Like, what? I'm supposed to do this? Oh, that would have been nice to know like 3 years ago. Of just not having really a consistent, hey, you need to do this. And so I was kind of shooting from the hip all throughout college and just kind of guessing because no one could really tell me what I needed to do. But if I think I started a lot sooner, like on the right path, I think I would have been like in a better situation to where like schools actually would have wanted me instead of me just showing up or having a connection to a school already to be like, oh, that's you're going to teach here now. Oh, cool. Okay. But
yeah,
I remember
that was
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry. I was going to say that was the big benefit from doing my education through Missouri State, because I feel like my advisor people were like super awesome. Like the people that were in charge of the education program for the outreach program that I did down here, because I did like offsite college stuff, right? With other things. Again, very non-traditional, very, very excellent, very in my way. But like the people in charge of that program are fantastic. So like that guy, they're amazing, right? So everything that they would do all the time, So yeah, they were on top of it. They would do that. They email you like all the time. Like all my advisor people were like way awesome and super helpful. So
I didn't have all of that. Like I said, I remember I showed up like one day and I walked into the ladies' class. I was like, or my advisor's little office, like I got an appointment with my advisor, and I walked in and I was like, oh, hello, who are you? And she's like, I'm your new advisor. And I was like, and then getting that email later today, like blah 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 blah, has taken an administrative leave, and talking to a bunch of other students, it was because she was literally not doing her job and just telling people to take random classes. And I wasted pretty much like 2 years or a year and a half, so like 3 semesters or 4 semesters of just like taking random things that I didn't need to take. And so I was like, oh, neat. It's not fun. And so I didn't have that kind of like, oh, this is gonna be cool and awesome. I would literally go to like other departments, be like, can you help me come up with a schedule? I don't know. No one knows what they're doing. And so it was. I learned a lot through that way of like after like my third advisor, like going to someone else and they're like, why are you taking these classes? I'm like, I don't know. Help me. So it was that mentality of not really having support in college from my own advisors to kind of be like, is this really what I want to do? And then I started substituting and I was like, this is what I want to do. And then in teaching I was like, I don't know if this is what I really want to do. Until I left, I'm like, this is what I want to do. Okay.
To close this loop, I think we need to ask Collin about what it was like teaching college students science things. Since we're not the only ones that have teaching experience, it's actually all 3 of us.
Yeah.
Collin just did it in graduate school. Because But how was that? How did you find college teaching life?
So I actually weirdly, I actually really looked forward to that. It was, and because I wasn't teaching the like lecture class, it was quote unquote just the lab. It was the fun time. It was that, and so it was always a very energetic time for me, and I really enjoyed that with the students. It did really weigh on me after 6 years of doing it. It was always the same thing. Like I didn't get to teach multiple subjects. I taught in the same lab, doing the same weekly schedule for a long time. And I moved around some labs between spring, summer, and fall, but I was on a rotation of basically 2 subjects. I was on human A&P and an ecology one every other year. And so it got pretty monotonous, especially because I would have 2 to 3 sections of like human anatomy. And so I would teach the exact same lab every week, 3 days, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And that was really boring to me. It got really hard, but I really enjoyed the students. At the graduate level, when I was teaching these college students, they were mostly towards the end when I left, they were mostly juniors and seniors. And so you had to deal with a lot of burnout. You had to deal with a lot of people who thought they knew more than you or just didn't show up at all. So it was, I got a lot out of it, and I still implement a lot of the, I didn't go to school to be a teacher, so I didn't have a lot of the classroom management or writing or how to grade or any of that background. It was just kind of you get thrown into it because if you do this, they'll pay you money and you can kind of have a quasi job. So, which was a little different, but I will say again, I enjoyed it. It was just, it was hard because it was the same thing all the time. So towards the end, it was like, okay, I'm having a hard time getting the energy up for this to move on. But
that's a good point. This is a point of contention, at least with me sometimes, because I feel like the thing that people talk about when they talk about teaching is all of that other stuff, right? The classroom management, the stylistic things, the methodology, right? I don't think we can discount the actual subject matter knowledge base that we have, right? I think that's very important, and I feel like people just gloss over that when they talk about teaching, and it's kind of like you actually have to have two knowledge bases, right? You have to have the teaching, like the stuff like how to teach knowledge base, but you also have to have the what on earth you're teaching knowledge base, right? Which I feel like if you have a very strong one of those, it also kind of helps deal with the other stuff, because some of that stuff gets handled when you like know what you're talking about and you have a very clear definition of what's going on, right?
Right.
So that's one of the things it's interesting to think about, right? And kind of what some of the differences and how much is focused on in which one of those areas between different people. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, it's really good. It's a really good point, because like when I was teaching human anatomy, I was teaching students that are going to go on to med school and be surgeons and ER doctors and that kind of stuff, and they are on their game. Like, they are really intense. That's the other thing I learned is I mostly taught pre-med and nursing students, and oh my gosh, they are some of the I just most high-strung students. And
that program is very demanding and very like stressful, because like if you don't meet the score on those things, you're out.
Oh yeah, right. Oh yeah. No, it was
rightly so.
Yeah, you want the best, right?
These medical professionals.
The number of students that I would have in my office just in tears, because this was the last semester that they had funding for, or loans or whatever, and they were 0.1 away from the GPA that they needed, and I couldn't do it for I could do nothing.
Yeah.
I was not prepared for. I was not prepared to sit in my office and cry with students because their dream of going to med school had collapsed. So that's not fun. But when I was teaching the ecology
class,
about
that in 6th grade.
No, you don't have to worry about crushing someone's hopes and dreams.
You just have to tell them they can't play basketball this week because they haven't turned in any of their papers. Sorry, you have zeros. If you would give me back some things, I could help you out. But as they go to you and then they disappear off the face of the planet, I'm sorry, I can't do nothing for you.
I can't. Yeah, and so when I would teach the ecology one, it was definitely a lot more like I was a big comfort zone, because that was my thing. Like, that was masters. That was what the other degree was on. Like all that. And so whenever I teach that course, it was just it was so much easier. So you mentioned these two knowledge bases of I was way out of my element in human anatomy because that's not my thing, and I didn't have like the classroom management and the writing, the curriculum writing, all that stuff. But when I was in the ecology one, it was like, this is my jam. I don't even have to look at the lab manual to talk us through what we're doing today. So then like the stress level really went
way down, right? Like, yeah. I felt that way because I when I was teaching 5th grade, I felt like, because, when you're going to teach, like, math, like, okay, I'm in. I got it. No worries. I got it. No problem. Like, we're going to teach some science. Yeah, got it. You're going to teach writing. Okay. that's when I would lean on my coworkers a little bit. Yo, what are we doing today in writing? What's going on? What's happening? Because that's definitely not my strong suit, right? Like I have a very particular writing style, but it's not always the most useful, and I can't always convey that to fifth graders about how to make it work. So that was one of the things that I was kind of excited about being moved up to sixth grade, because there was a vacant spot there. Mm-hmm. Now I just have to teach science and history. I'm like, oh, yeah. But again, it is ancient history, so there is some of that like, what about Egypt? What's that thing about Egypt again? I don't remember. Like, that's a little rusty.
Yeah.
But like, I think it just helps, right? Because I noticed like in my science classes, like I'm a very animated person, so it just a lot of that classroom management stuff just kind of comes away because you're very like, again, I think it comes because I'm like so in the moment, like I said, that it just kind of helps to be aware of what's happening like everywhere, because you're very focused in on what's happening.
Yeah, if you can keep them engaged, you don't have to worry about classroom management because they're in on you pretty much. Yeah,
as much. But again, when you're in the moment, you are also seeing all the things that they are doing or are not doing, and you can be like, "Yo, put it up.
Yeah,
that's mine." Yeah. So,
no, this conversation reminds me of something that I had actually written a while ago, and it was something I wrote for my students right before I left, and I had posted it, and it was I Wasn't Told, and it was a series that I was writing about things about graduate school, like that they don't tell you about before you get in. And this one I wrote, it was called
Nothing.
It was called
Same with teaching. Nothing.
Yeah, well, and this one was like talking about I wasn't told about teaching, and it was like I wasn't told that teaching is harder than you'd expect it to be. I wasn't told how annoying grading is, especially those pesky research papers. I wasn't told how hard it would be for me to remember the students' names. I wasn't told how much I'd care for their success and to challenge them to grow. I wasn't told about the heartbreak of watching students struggle through devastating life situations. I wasn't told about the students who would look up to you and come to your office for moral support. I wasn't told that I'd cry with students. I wasn't told that sometimes I'd be the only person in their life helping to keep their head above water. I wasn't told how utterly fulfilling and challenging being a TA for some random biology lab would be. I wasn't told how much I'd love it. And because all of those things happen, and one of the challenges when you're dealing with college students is you're dealing with little adults, like pre-adults sometimes, just on this verge of like what on earth is going on. So they're handling social pressures and drinking and drugs and trying to meet expectations of family members and hold down jobs sometimes, and that was a really weird and really sometimes uncomfortable spot to be, where they'd come in and they'd say, I had one girl come in and she was in tears and she's like, "I'm so sorry, I can't turn in. I didn't," or she said, "I'm so sorry I wasn't here the past 2 weeks because I missed class," and then she just stopped and she goes, "Because my dad died." And it was like, you don't need to apologize for it. Like, and then it was like, having that thrown on your plate all of a sudden of like, I'm just your TA, and now we're having this heart to heart,
right? Like,
all of a sudden, and it's like, I don't know what to do with this. And those life situations was really, man, those take a toll on you. And that was above and beyond the curriculum, what I was supposed to be doing that day. It was when those moments happened where all of a sudden I was a life coach, I was a career coach, I was a roo rah rah in their corner kind of person a lot of times, and that was something that I just totally didn't expect to be in the position of, just doing some fuddy-duddy TA, for a lab,
Yeah, you should try it with random sixth graders. It's very strange. It's very similar. It's not dissimilar, really, because like we talk often about like, yo, this is the time in your life where you're deciding what type of person you want to be. So like some days you want to be this type of person. Some days you want to do this, but then your friends will be like, yo, that's dumb. Why do you want to do that? But you want to do it, so you'll be, sad. Like, it's very tricky. Being 11 and 12 is very hard. I just tell them it's very difficult. Super hard.
I had a kid, and it was kind of what Collin was telling or was saying, that's like that you're not prepared for. Like, I had one of my baseball kids come up to me and was like, Coach, I got to quit baseball. And I was like, well, why do you gotta quit? You gotta quit baseball. I was like, well, I gotta get a job to help with my family. And I was like, dude, you're in high school. Like, there's no book about, it's like, this is how you deal with this. And like, I was talking to this, his name's Coach Hennessy down at Beggs, Oklahoma, and one of his players died. And he's like, this man's been coaching for like 30 years. It's like, man, there's nothing that can prepare you for that. Like, and you just got to roll with what you can. I was like, that's what, I am new to this. I have no idea what's going on.
Yeah. Or there's all kinds of crazy family things, man. Like where, kids live with other relatives because their parents literally don't want them.
Yeah.
Right. Like, get out of my house. I don't want you here.
Yeah.
Like, what? Holy cow. Like, I've seen that before. That's like, what? Holy cow, man.
That's insane. Literally what I see from my job. Like, especially when I go to court,
I bet.
And parents walk in, you're like, I relinquish my rights. And they're like, Eva, what? Why? And like, there's no I just got done with,
you went through many weeks of training for that.
Yeah,
yes, you did.
But it's like, they don't tell you any of that. Like, they're like, oh, people are going to be helpful and wonderful, and like, I was literally in a courthouse, and the parent walked in, and was like, I give the court my approval. I don't want anything to do with my kid, and just like walked out. And I was like, okay. I'm like, but that's a thing?
Yeah, what? It happens a lot.
Yeah. And so like, there's nothing to prepare you for that. And so, and that's one thing I try to teach a lot of my kids, especially a lot of my baseballers. And it's like, like this kid is like, I'm sorry, I can't play this year, coach. I got to find a job to help with my family. And I'm like, dude, how old are you? He's like, oh, I'm 16. I'm like, man, my heart.
Yeah, but that's how it is, man. In some places it's really rough, I try to tell them, I try to be real. Like, I remember being 12. It was awful. Okay? I'm not going to sugarcoat it for you. Yeah. It was kind of terrible. Right. Yeah. So, like, I get it. So it's, we just got to work on this. We got to do this together because it's rough. Right.
Yeah.
It's really, you're all weird, and you do 1 minute you're friends, 1 minute you're not friends for very arbitrary reasons. Like, it's very, very tricky
to navigate. Yeah, with going into middle school, it's like it's a whole new ballgame.
Yeah, navigating the social structure of a 12-year-old. Oh my gosh! I
do not envy that at all. I'm so glad that
that's actually the hardest part of my job. It's not the earth science; it's that. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh well, it's all good.
Yeah,
I got some pretty sweet Christmas cards from some of them though. So I was like, I'm not crying. What? You're crying?
Oh, no.
Go away.
Yeah, but that that goes back to speaking to why both of you are where you are now, right? Like because that was something that you saw a need for, that you could fill, that you could invest in the students and in the kids that you work with, and as part of it's above and beyond being a good educator, being talented at conveying information. It's these other components that feed into it and that are a part of it.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah,
I don't always lead with that answer because that's what's always on the posters and that's what they want you to say. But it's really true. Like, that's what
it's a cliche for a reason. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, it's true. I often be like, no, I just love rocks, man. I don't know what you're talking about.
I don't know what your problem is.
Wow.
I checked my email the other day to make sure there's nothing I missed before I go, because I generally don't check my email when I'm at home. But going back to work, I was like, okay, well, I probably need to make sure I didn't miss anything. And one of my students had sent me pictures of rocks they had definitely found at their house.
Yeah. Yes.
Yo.
More that.
Science over break. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Love it.
It was great. Like, yo, this is fantastic. So we'll see. But yeah. More of that, please. No.
Yeah.
Tell them that. Any great. More rocks you want to send my way, send me some pictures, it'd be all good.
Yeah. Don't even have to ask.
True. So, did anybody else buy all of their EDC kit? Or is anybody else ready to go?
Okay.
On the challenge?
Gonna be honest.
No. Okay.
I have two of the items. I have not.
I mean, I have been off for 2 weeks right now, so I've had some extra time. So I was checking, making sure that I'm good.
So I think we're gonna. Yeah. No. I have two. So hopefully by next time we'll be all set, and then we can start. So all
right.
Yeah, I think that's the plan.
Okay. Want to check, make sure, remind everybody this challenge is still happening.
It is,
and I'm totally gonna win. So I don't even know. Maybe you don't even want to start, but
can't be throwing that. Otherwise, yeah, I'm just gonna be do it. Little lose. Can't lose if you don't try.
True. Yeah. What you, Aaron? You got anything? Any other items?
I have not. I haven't been home at all.
Yeah.
I'm actually sitting on my couch for the first time in a week. So I mean,
beloved couch.
Beloved couch on the couch.
I mean, like I said, I haven't. I've kind of dropped the ball on this one. Also, I gotta admit.
What's fair? Again,
I wouldn't say I dropped the ball.
I'm the one that hasn't been yet at work. I have not been doing anything for it, especially this past week. All the holiday stuff has been done this whole past week, so I'm just been chilling, watching stuff on Amazon, right? Hanging out.
Yeah,
that's kind of it. So I understand. I'm not shaming you. I'm just saying I'm done. It's fine.
I feel kind of shame. I'm just saying.
Okay. So go on, check. Make sure
we'll check back in next week.
Make sure we're still on board because I'm excited about it. It'll be good.
Okay.
Good content. But also, I watch a lot of stuff on Amazon, and the James May show is fantastic.
Yeah,
I didn't get a chance. Okay. I just found out that it was out today because I saw somebody wrote a review for it, and I was like, I didn't think that was supposed to be out till later this month. And I checked, and it all came out on the 3rd, and I was like, oh. Definitely I think there's 6 episodes of this.
Oh wow. Okay.
They just threw them all out. They're like, here it is, boom. It's called Our Man in Japan. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, I've seen commercials for that. Okay.
It's out now.
It's going on our homework. It's going on our homework list, just so you know.
You need to check it out. It's so good.
Teacher is assigning homework.
It's so good. I love it. So yeah, we might need to talk about that if you have time to watch at least one of those, because they're only most of them are 45 minutes, I think.
That's not too bad.
They're 45 to 50. I watched a couple. I think I watched 3 of them today, or 1 yesterday and 2 today. I'm not sure. I think it was all 3 today. I think I watched 1 this morning and then 2 later. I can't watch some people watch can just sit down and watch them sequentially. I have to I don't have the attention span for that. I need to break in the middle and do other things and then come back later. So I don't.
Yeah.
Even though it is good, it's super hilarious and excellent. So I just can recommend. I'm saying watch that and tell because I want to talk about that when you get.
Okay. It's on the list. It's on my list. I'm very excited about this.
It's pretty funny. So
I'm still waiting for the next one of the Grand Tour to drop.
I heard it was in Madagascar.
I think so. I think. Ooh. Yeah, I remember. So I follow them on Instagram, and I remember all of them posting pictures through these places over time, but I didn't know what they were, what order they were shooting or anything like that at that time. So
I was trying to think about the last one. Like I just saw something about it the other day. Like they were talking about their filming, and that happened. This is 100% speculation, but that happened for the last episode, just like a week or two before it aired. So I don't know if they're like putting that out there as like, oh, hey, yeah, this is a thing that happened. We're editing it and everything now. So we're talking about, I'm not sure. I don't know how this cycle of this works. Because there was all this stuff I saw on my newsfeed, like, oh, James May says he doesn't know if he wants to do it. But then there was another one that's like, no, the last one was awesome. So I was like, what? What the heck? I don't know if that's just internet like garbage or like actual thing, So we'll see. But the cycle of that being out there was happening. So I don't know. Again, I don't know when that's supposed to come out. I don't know, because I seem to remember that they were initially they said that this season was just going to be like 2, right?
Yeah.
So is that still true? Did they do more? I don't know.
I honestly haven't kept up with any of that kind of stuff, so I don't know.
I know, because I know they were all going to do their own shows for a while. Because May did this one, that Our Man in Japan. Hammond is doing something for the Discovery Channel.
Ooh, really?
It's called like Big something or something. He says like it's like Big Machines. I'm not sure what it's called. I don't remember. And then Clarkson was going to do that one about he has bought that farm. Yeah, the farming one, which is odd. I'm
very concerned. I'm kind of concerned about how it's going to go, but I'm totally going to watch it. So let's just be real.
Yeah. So I don't know I don't know how that fits into all this schedule thing, but like,
I don't know.
Going to Google Discovery. Here we go. Yeah, it's just called Big.
Huh. Interesting name for a show hosted by someone so.
I think it's probably the joke. Right?
No, I
don't know. So funny. Yeah, it's about like big like machines, like shipping boats and aircraft carriers and stuff. This says February, so that's the UK date. I don't know, but anyway. Yes. So that's all there too. So I didn't know how that was going to affect any of that other stuff, or if they were going to do more next time. I didn't know. I just didn't know the actual number of how many of these things they were going to do.
Yeah, no, I've heard it is supposed to be a low number, but I don't have anything specific and haven't heard any.
I thought at one time I heard 2, and I was like, well, that's boring. But I don't know if that's accurate. I don't know if they changed their mind. I don't know.
But also, I know that it is obviously a ton of work.
Well, yeah, that's true.
To do one of those huge specials, because even when they're at the BBC, some of the seasons didn't have specials in them.
Yeah,
so
they just had.
It takes a lot.
Again, I think we could do with less specials and more like
cheap car challenges
or races. They're like random like car versus public transport ones. We could do some more.
Yeah,
those. I like those ones a lot. It's like other things, right, that they kind of didn't do very much. I'd see something on Imager, I think it was. And it was like, more of this, please. And it was like the motorhome one and like the
yes,
the boat one, like when they made them into boats, all that dumb stuff. It's like, can we just have more of this? I was like, we need more of this, please. And it was those. I was like, I agree wholeheartely.
I actually, hand on heart, just watched the motorhomes one last night. So
yeah, that's a good one.
Yes,
it's a good one.
Yes, is great. So I totally agree with that.
Yeah, I was trying to think. There was another one that I really liked too. We know Collin likes the van one, obviously.
Yeah. Well,
fan of the big ones, but like even that one, like that was very good. I like that one too. So more of that would be nice. Also, I realized this is going to be very tangenty, so bear with me just a minute. When you watch, so I was watching the James May thing today, okay, and this goes back to some camera work things that we need to discuss, or that I just need to yell about for a minute because it drives me crazy.
Go ahead.
The camera work in that show is very excellent, right? As you might expect. Like the camera shots are very, because it's like a documentary program, right? The camera shots are all very good. Okay, almost all of them. They're very excellent. They make sense, right? While I was eating supper tonight, I was watching. We're trying to find something random to watch while we eat supper, right? And we were watching this show on Animal Planet about like Bigfoot, right? Whatever.
Okay.
And Bigfoot's funny. It intrigues me. It's mildly interesting. So I was watching it, and it's supposed to be, because I remember hearing about this one. It's supposed to be mildly credible. Like Dr. Maria Mayer is on the show, right? You're like, oh, that's an actual primatologist. It's interesting.
Yeah.
The camera work in this show is so annoying and so terrible that I don't know what like just out of film school person they have running cinematography for them, but it's terrible, right? And there's a bunch of this shit they're like in the woods, and the camera's just like the side of their face. I don't know what kind of horrible Blair Witch thing they think they're doing here, but you cannot attempt to give me actual scientists performing actual scientific research and then like give me shaky cam and terrible camera angles and like these really weird like there's these pieces to camera that this guy was doing, but they did that thing where they would put the camera like low and to the right, but he was looking straight.
Yes.
And talking. Yeah. And I was sitting there going, to whom are you speaking? Are you supposed to be talking to me, the viewer? Is there someone else in the room that I don't know?
Yeah. And
then whenever he was actually talking to somebody else, like they put the camera directly behind that other person. So when the other person was talking, the other guy was looking right at the lens. And I was like, well, this doesn't make sense now because he's not talking to me anymore. And yet he's looking at me. So is he not paying attention to this other guy? I don't understand what's happening. I know I'm thinking way too much of camera angles on TV shows on the Travel Channel, but I was like, what is happening right now?
Yeah.
We're overdoing this, okay? You're overdoing this a lot. We need less camera angle.
Is that the Dutch angle where like they're staring off into medium distance, but the camera is just slightly down to the right or to the angle, kind of looking up?
Called, yeah.
Anyway.
And then it's a very film school angle, right? Yeah. It's not a natural camera position. You saw that in a like Quentin Tarantino movie or what's the other the brothers, what are their names? The Wachowskis or whatever.
Oh, yes.
You saw that in their movie and we're like, oh, I love that movie. That's so cool. Let's do that. It doesn't belong in.
It's artsy, it's high class. Yeah,
it doesn't belong in. If you're trying to present Bigfoot to me in a scientific manner, I don't want Dutch angle. I don't want your Sergio Leone foot shot. Okay, I don't need your Blair Witch Project extreme close to the side of a man's head in the woods. Like, what are you doing? I can't see anything. I can see this guy's ear. It's not helpful. Get out of here. What are you doing?
But do you really see his ear?
Yeah. You know what I didn't see? Bigfoot. Because all I could see was that ear. Okay.
Okay, fine. Whatever.
I'm like, oh, this is suspenseful. Like, I understand you're in the woods at night. You can't really see anything. Maybe don't show me the side of a man's face. Okay, that's not what I want to see. You program about Bigfoot. Okay.
Well, I mean,
another establishing shot of a tree. Maybe I don't know, but come on.
Because it would be hard because you can't do medium or long shots when you're in Ann Wood at night, right? So you are, I guess it's to give you that feel of intimacy and proximity to the action and what it's actually like.
They're trying to build suspense in what is basically just a man standing in wood. There's nothing else happening. You're like, oh no, it's suspenseful. Like, no, it's not. It's a guy in a field.
I have stood in woods. They are not suspenseful.
Yeah. Also, side note, another one. They found this hair. You know, they're like, oh, we got to test this hair to see if it's a Bigfoot hair, right? Blah blah.
They always do.
And he comes in and he goes, you know, they always say where they found it. Like, I found this one on the ground. Like, dude, that's an elk hair. Okay, whatever. He's like, I found this one in a bird's nest on top of a mountain. And I'm like, okay, well, first of all, that's not very helpful because there is absolutely no telling where in the world that bird got that hair from. Okay,
sure.
The Bigfoot did not place it in the nest. Okay. It didn't even have to be on top of the mountain. Birds fly very long distances and grab random things in which to put in a nest. So this is the least wonderful scientific data you could have gotten.
Wow. Now, I will say they use
the hair thing.
Obviously, I can tell. You need to calm down there. Easy. Sima Dana. I will say sometimes they'll use otter nests to look for mussel populations and do mussel estimates in a particular reach or river. And there was also research done in the Florida Everglades on the snail populations there, where they would look at the kites, some species of bird that fed almost exclusively on the snails, to look at. That's how they would actually find new snail species sometimes, is they would know where these birds would roost, and they'd go and look underneath there and see what snails they were eating.
That's fair, but if you come to me with a hair that you're very adamant about the fact that it came from this one location. Okay, the location is what you're looking for. Yeah. And then you're like, oh no, I found it in a bird's nest. Okay, that could have come from 15 miles away. I don't know how far but you didn't tell me what bird it was, first of all. So I don't know how big of a home radius this bird has, but could have come from many tens of miles away, right? So if they're trying to lock down a location for something, finding an object in a bird's nest, not helpful. That's all I'm saying.
Right. Birds or unreliable Bigfoot hunters. Okay, fine.
Yes.
Noted.
True.
Writing it down.
Yes. That's my rant for the day. Why do I need to see camera angles of an ear when I'm supposed to be hunting a mythical creature that probably doesn't exist in a wood in the Pacific Northwest somewhere? I think is where they were. I'm not sure. What? Stop it.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. That's my other excitement for today. I've been very bored at home.
Tomorrow's
gonna be rough going back to school. I'm gonna go.
I can tell. I don't think your students are going to be as enthused about your critique of camera angles, and
they're not going to be awake tomorrow. That's going to be the struggle tomorrow of gotta ease it back in here, gotta do some stuff.
Aerobic exercise or something.
Yeah, something we can get.
Wow.
Hey guys, it's morning. We need to be awake now.
Ta-da!
Ta-da! We'll see. But not high hopes for tomorrow. But, see how it goes. Easing back in. Slowly. Remember school? Remember how to walk in the hallway without shoving each other? No? Okay. We need to go over that tomorrow.
No. That's real. Actually, #fake news.
No, they don't. They don't remember how to do that. What? I should push you on the stairs? Yes, of course. It's a great. No. Try again. Try again, please. There we go.
Hey.